Hello, this is Lady Boulay, and welcome back to Black American Lineage. Thank you for your support. Thank you for all you do to support the channel, and thank you for going on this journey through our past and present. Today, we're talking about the first Black-owned bus company in America. I had heard of this before, and if you've heard about it before, let me know in the comment section. But we're going to talk about the Safe Bus Company in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. First, I'm going to show you the video, and then I'm going to show you something about the bus company.
The Safe Bus Company, the Black-owned transit empire in Winston-Salem. In the Jim Crow South, where buses meant humiliation for Black riders, Winston-Salem's Black community flipped the script and built their own bus empire. If you believe in reclaiming erased history, hit like and follow now, because this story changes the way we see Black business power. In 1926, 21 Black jitney drivers pooled their money to form the Safe Bus Company, a name chosen to promise dignity and safety. This was no small operation. Within a few decades, Safe Bus grew into the largest Black-owned transportation company in the United States, running over 70 buses and employing more than 200 people. It wasn't just about rides, it was about freedom of movement in a world designed to limit Black mobility. For Winston-Salem's Black residents, Safe Bus was more than transportation. It was a daily reminder that segregation didn't stop Black innovation. By 1972, city officials absorbed Safe Bus into Winston-Salem Transit Authority, ending its independent run. But for nearly 50 years, it stood as living proof of what collective ownership could do. Comment if you think we need more stories of Black economic power told today.
Dr. Claude Anderson had talked about this bus company, and he talked about collective economics, and what happened to this bus company is what happens to a lot of our businesses. Once they become successful and thriving, then there's a reason to merge them with another company, or somebody simply comes in and buys them out. So that's what happened with this bus company. Now, we know that during the Montgomery bus boycott, we didn't have any buses in Montgomery. So it was riding the Montgomery bus, a city bus, or walk. And we know what that turned out to be. So this is kind of a different take on riding the bus in America. But these men put their money together and built this company. And I'm astounded that it did operate for 50 years, for 50 years in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Now, that was one of the very thriving communities after Jim Crow. There were several in North Carolina, and Winston-Salem was one of them, and it's still a thriving community. But it is sort of interesting that when these companies become very successful, then there's a reason to merge them with somebody else's company, or somebody simply comes in and buys the company out, which is what happened with Motown and Essence and BET and Ebony and a lot of the businesses. But I want to tell you a little bit more about this particular company. I got this information from the co-pilot, and the co-pilot's information came from the North Carolina Transportation Department. The Safe Bus Company is a landmark Black entrepreneurship and community infrastructure. The company was Black owned and Black operated from 1926 to 1972. It became the largest Black American owned transportation company in the world during its peak. In the 1920s, segregation meant the city's trolley system did not serve Black neighborhoods. So Black residents relied on about 35 independent jitney drivers. I had never heard of jitney drivers either, which created an inconsistent and unregulated system where you know how that's going to be. You're depending on Black folk to pick you up on time. So you know you're going to be late for work. But anyway, the 21 jitney operators came together to form a unified, reliable service for Black communities. So a jitney driver is just another word for a cab. Okay, cab. So these drivers, these jitney drivers, or these cabbies, operated 35 buses, eventually employing more than 75 workers and carrying 8,000 passengers daily. Well, I wonder how much they charge to ride. Because I rode the bus in the Bronx, New York back in the 70s and it cost 35 cents. So I'm wondering what it would have cost to ride the bus in 1926. Probably a nickel or a dime or something like that. Yeah, surely. But anyway, this company, these buses provided stable jobs for black drivers, mechanics, dispatchers, and administrators, and it became a symbol of economic power, self determination, and community resilience. Yeah, I mean, if you can't ride the city bus because it's segregated, it does make sense that somebody would come up with the idea that we'll just create our own bus system. That's pretty smart. In 1968, when the city's white-owned transit provider collapsed, Winston-Salem asked SafeBus to run the entire city's transportation system, a historic moment of recognition and responsibility. Now that's rich. That's rich. The city's white-owned transit system collapsed. They asked the black people to take over the transportation system. I mean, really, that's quite astounding. And then in 1972, the city purchased the company's assets, merging it into the Winston-Salem Transit Authority. Now, the city system's transit system collapsed, and they asked the black people to take over the transit situation, and then they merged with the black company, and then it became Winston-Salem Transit Authority. Okay, did y'all know that? Let me know in the comment section because this is news to me, even though I did hear Dr. Claude Anderson talking about this. But this is shocking news to me. I got to look a little bit more into this. But anyway, let me conclude the video. The Safe Bus Company is one of the strongest examples of community black entrepreneurship, community driven infrastructure, innovation under segregation, a legacy of mobility, dignity, and economic empowerment. Well, we don't have that now. We don't have that spirit now. We don't have the spirit of working together because everybody's scared somebody else gonna get credit. Um, we just don't have that spirit anymore. And we don't have to because we have a powerful infrastructure in our state, city, and national governments. So I think that discourages entrepreneurship in all communities, really, because eventually when black businesses succeed, they end up being bought out anyway. Just like in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, I talk about this all the time. They had the rib joint, Dreamland, and that joint operated for years, just over in a small black community. But they made exceptional barbecue, and now it's a chain. So the family has the original restaurant, but they have a chain in Alabama, in Georgia, and Tennessee, and I think there's one in Texas. And it'll probably expand throughout the country because when black businesses are done right, they do well. So anyway, y'all, let me know what you think about this video. The first black-owned bus company in the United States of America, in the world, probably. Let me know what you think about this. And do you think that we need to do more of that community uplift and cooperative economics? Let me know what you think in the comment section. Thanks for your support and have a good day.